David, let's talk about the numbers first. A deficit of $354 billion this year, $1 trillion in debt, no target date for a balanced budget. How are Canadians going to swallow this?
Probably they won't mind. I mean, this is all the polling we've done is deficits just by themselves are not necessarily something that Canadians are getting upset about right now. It's, are you going at a deficit for some good reasons? And you're right, it's $354 billion for the fiscal year just ended. That ended on March 31st. So that's last year. That was all the COVID spending. $354 billion is a crazy amount of money. To put that in perspective, in any normal budget year, the entire budget would be about $350 billion. So that's just how big the deficit was last year. Now, for the year we're in a new fiscal year, and the budget this year is going to drop to $154 billion. That is still huge. And then it's going to drop even further, about $60, $70 billion, down to about a deficit of, say, $30 billion by 2026. We went into this pandemic, the budget year prior, at about a $30 billion deficit. Those are big numbers. Can we afford it? Yes. Economists say it is sustainable in this low interest rate environment. If interest rates start to rise, then we could be into some issues. And the key metric I think that Canadians will look for when it comes to all these big, huge deficits is our debt to GDP ratio, our debt relative to the size of our national economy. Before the pandemic, it was sitting at about 30%. 30% of our economy equaled about 30% of our debt. All of our debt. Now, this year it's going to spike up to 50%, and it's going to stay at 50% even though the deficits start to get smaller because we've got this now trillion-dollar debt. But still we're spending not so much on servicing that debt. All that spending, what's it good for? Robin, here's the budget, okay? 724 pages. I've been doing this for covering federal budgets for more than 20 years now. I can't remember one this thick, and this is chock full of spending programs. $50 billion, 50 spending, $50 billion in spending programs in this fiscal year on top of all that emergency spending that is sticking around. The Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, the Canada Emergency Rent Subsidy, they'll still be here. They're going to extend them till September, and they cost billions of dollars. But now what's in here, this $50 billion worth of spending, it's on pandemic and beyond, on the recovery, and of course the big highlight for Freeland, the first female ever to present a budget in our history, is a national childcare program. She's going to put down $30 billion over the next 5 years, but she needs the provinces to help her out with this. It's going to take a little while to get this thing, but before she leaves, she wants $10 a day childcare for everyone in the country, just like they have in Quebec.
But it's not happening right away, though, is it? And by the way, I'm sure you read every single one of those 700 pages in the budget.
Absolutely, Robin, yes.
Yeah, it's a matter of negotiating, though, with the provinces. It's not like it's so easy to set up.
It isn't. And I told you, 720 pages, all these spending programs. Let me tell you what's not in the budget. There is no commitment by the Trudeau Liberals to increase the annual health care transfer to the provinces. It's called the Canada Health Transfer. And the premiers have been crying for an increase for the last year. They've met with Trudeau. They've had special meetings. Every time the premiers talk to Trudeau, they say, you got to give us more money for health care. This is not pandemic-related health care spending. This is ongoing health care, the cost of health care. And there is no commitment in this document, this budget, to increase the amount of the Canada Health Transfer. So when the Freeland or whoever shows up at the next premier's meeting and says, hey guys, I got $30 billion for a new plan for childcare. Can you help me out? They'll say, sure, as soon as you give us what we need for health care. That's where that quid pro quo, I'm certain, is going to happen, and it may gum up Freeland's aspirations on daycare. And then there's another national plan that the Liberals sort of have bubbling under, pharmacare. There's about 4 paragraphs on pharmacare in this budget, and all they're saying is we'll continue to talk to the provinces about a national pharmacare program. Now, why is that important? Because this is a Trudeau minority government. They need one party to support this in order to get it through and avoid a general election. I'm looking at the New Democrats, most likely to deal here, and they've been crying for pharmacare. And they're going to look at this and say, where the heck is any movement on pharmacare? And it's not in here. So that may be an issue, more national programs. Other things not in here, there is no tax on the wealthy. Something else New Democrats had wanted. They want to get rid of They want to get rid of billionaires. That's New Democrats. They certainly want to tax them. There is no new taxes on, no new income taxes on the wealthy, though there are new taxes on luxury goods. So Robin, if you were thinking of buying that new yacht for the season or a private aircraft, you will pay a little bit extra to the government for the pleasure.
I just do not have the salary for that, but thank you so much for your update on that. David Akin in Ottawa. Let's bring in Sahir Khan with the Institute of Fiscal and International Studies. Sahir, it feels like we are bleeding red. Those were big numbers for a deficit. Did it give you heart palpitations?
Well, I think that there's no question that it's a big budget. As David said, it's 700 plus pages. It's a lot of spending. But I think when you take a step back, we think, is it broadly fiscally sustainable? And the answer is yes. As David noted, it does depend on interest rates continue to stay low, but at their current rates. But it is broadly sustainable. I think the thing that got me kind of thinking about this is really what are we going to get for the money? And I think if we're going to pass on this amount of debt to the next generation, the issue is what are they getting for it? Are they getting a better labor force, better trained, better labor force participation, a bigger labor force? Are they getting high quality infrastructure? Are they getting innovation agenda that really builds the next generation of companies and entrepreneurs? If we are able to do that, if the government's able to do that and demonstrate results, then at least there's a legacy that's been purchased with that deficit financing. If it's transfers or really poor results, then I think they're going to be competing in the global economy with one hand tied behind their back.